we're working to connect a region of over 600 natural bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. We're moving to the next stage of the pandemic, and as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the right balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. On today's headlines. The Department of Foreign Affairs reported that 2 more Filipinos abroad contracted the coronavirus disease, pushing the total tally to 10,069. In Malaysia, the Recovery Movement Control Order has been extended until the 31st of December, and our EBC correspondent, Gail Aldos, will give us an update. President Duterte hailed Filipino frontliners amid the COVID-19 pandemic in his National Heroes Day message on Monday, August 31. The Department of Foreign Affairs reported that 2 more Filipinos abroad contracted the coronavirus disease, pushing the total tally to 10,069. In its latest case bulletin, the DFA said there are no new fatalities, while 1 new recovery was recorded in the Asia and the Pacific. Now, this figure brings the total number of recoveries to 6,124, while the death toll remains at 755. Meanwhile, about 3,190 Filipinos abroad are still undergoing treatment. The Department of Foreign Affairs reported that another country in Africa, Niger, has lifted its inbound and outbound restrictions on Filipino travelers, subject to medical protocols. Previous information on travel restrictions for other countries and regions remain the same. The DFA continues to remind the public that information contained in the infographics is subject to change without prior and sufficient public notice. DFA said it's therefore always best to check ahead of travel dates with airlines as well as with relevant embassies or consulates before booking a ticket and before departure. In Malaysia, the Recovery Movement Control Order, or RMCO, has been extended until the 31st of December. Giving us an update is our EBC correspondent from Kuala Lumpur, Gail Aldos. Hello, Gail.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Here are the latest updates. The Recovery Movement Control Order, RMCO, has been extended until 31st December 2020, said Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. According to him, with the extension of the RMCO period, enforcement action under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, or Act 342, could still be taken. In a special message broadcasted on local television, the Prime Minister said this is to ensure that all parties comply with the standard operating procedures and health protocols set. On June 7, the Prime Minister announced the implementation of RMCO to replace the Conditional Movement Control Order after Malaysia successfully curbed the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Muhyiddin stressed that in the event of an increase in cases of infection in certain localities, the government will implement a targeted approach such as the Enhanced Movement Control Order or the Targeted Movement Control Order, which has been implemented in several areas previously. Recognizing that Malaysians should not take lightly the risk of the super spreader virus proliferating in the country, he said strict quarantine regulations in certain places would continue to be enforced. He said the country is still facing a bitter challenge in dealing with the spread of the COVID-19 epidemic, taking into account that the virus is still actively spreading around the world. Looking at the cases that occur abroad, the virus is not only still active, but is also spreading rapidly on a large scale. For example, the Sivaganga, Tawar, and Salah clusters in Kedah, Sanglang in Perlis, and also clusters in Sarawak recently. These risks need to be addressed immediately and controlled with firm and agile actions before they spread more widely. The Prime Minister said it included government action to tighten the country's border controls, as well as making it compulsory for people returning from abroad and foreigners entering Malaysia to undergo a 14-day quarantine order at designated quarantine stations. In the meantime, he supported the proposal of the Ministry of Health to increase the compound rates for related offenses to at least 2 or 3 times the current rates. However, he said that this matter needed to be refined and Act 342 needed to be amended first. He also said that no one is exempted from the rules and any individuals who violates them will be punished accordingly. Meanwhile, he said the global spread of COVID-19 had yet to show any signs that it would end in the near future. As of currently, there are more than 25 million cases and more than 850,000 deaths. To address this crisis, various parties are working to produce the COVID-19 vaccine. The World Health Organization expects the transmission of COVID-19 to continue for a relatively longer period of time. Therefore, it is the government's priority at this time to identify the clusters that may exist in the country and take immediate action to prevent infection in the community. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Gail, for your updates there. Thank you, EBC Kuala Lumpur Bureau.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Gail Aldas. We live in interesting times.
From Malaysia to Vietnam now, where the country recorded no new COVID-19 case over the past 24 hours. Now, this is the first time since July 25. Bringing us an update is Charlene Navaja. Hello, Charlene.
Hi, Alma.
Hello.
Good day to you.
Good to see you again.
Okay. Yes. You too. So you're right about that. So Vietnam recorded no new COVID-19 cases over the past 24 hours, and this is the first time since July 25th, according to the Committee for COVID-19 Prevention and Control. So this means that the patient tally remains unchanged at 1,040, and that includes 695 recovered cases and the 32 deaths. So of the patient tally, 690 are imported cases due to the influx of citizen repatriation flights. So Vietnam has organized 113 flights to bring home about 32,008 citizens stranded abroad due to COVID-19. So the country entered the third phase of COVID-19 containment since July 25th, when first community transmitted case was confirmed in Dana after 99 days without a single community infection case. So since then, 550 cases linked to the COVID-19 cluster in Da Nang have been confirmed. So Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc spoke at a meeting on COVID-19 response on August 27 that by now, Vietnam has well controlled the COVID-19 pandemic as the authorities have demonstrated the highest responsibility in dealing with newly emerged clusters. So despite the encouraging signals, the government chief still ordered authorities, especially the health sector, to avoid subjectivity and maintain high alert levels in order to prevent transmission of the virus into communities, considering it is an urgent task. So he also urged local leaders to pursue punitive sanctions against those who intentionally violate regulations on COVID-19 responses while having detailed plans to foster economic activities. So localities, especially border provinces, must cooperate closely with the Ministry of National Defense to control the borders well in order to prevent illegal entrance. And in a different news, Alma, so in the first 8 months of 2020, foreign arrivals into Vietnam reached only 3.8 million. So that's down by 67% compared to the figure of 11.3 million recorded in the same period last year. So this is because of the COVID-19 pandemic greatly impacted the travel. So the number was announced by the General Statistics Office of Vietnam, or GSO, over the weekend. So most of the arrivals were before March 22nd, the day Vietnam started closing its border to nearly all foreign arrivals in a bid to curb coronavirus spread. So the country only in recent months allows a few exceptions. So these are the foreign diplomats, investors, highly skilled workers, and experts. So along with some flights repatriating Vietnamese citizens, and all foreign entries are quarantined for 14 days upon arrival. So of the 3.8 million, so 3.05 million arrived in Vietnam by air, while 580,000 and 140,000 entered the country via land and sea routes. So the agency said while 1,063,000 foreign arrivals in August is an improvement of 17% compared to July, it still marks a 99% decline compared to the number in 2019. Visitors from Asia, accounting for more than 73% of the total of international arrivals to Vietnam this year, fell by nearly 70% over the same period last year. So arrivals from the key markets such as China, South Korea, Japan, Thailand, and Malaysia all posted record losses within 8 months of 2020. So however, arrivals from neighboring Cambodia increased by nearly 71%. So visitors from Europe in the past 8 months were estimated to fall by nearly 55% over the same period of 2019. Arrivals from the Americas are estimated to have decreased by more than 65% compared to the first 8 months in 2019. And in a cabinet meeting held on Friday, Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc asked that the National Steering Committee on COVID-19 Prevention and Control and the ministries to discuss opening flights to epidemiologically safe countries and regions. So including flights to Japan, conducted by Vietnamese airlines. So he also urged ministries and agencies to closely monitor and accelerate granting of visas to foreign experts and investors. Deputy Head of Vietnam National Administration of Tourism, Ha Van Siêu, in a recent recovery-focused tourism meeting, said that the government implemented policies early to aid people and businesses hit hard by the pandemic. So hotels and tourism accommodation businesses that registered to be used as paid quarantine facilities for COVID-19 patients or foreign entries into the country will enjoy a 20% cut in electricity rates, while many fees such as appraisal fee for international travel business licenses, domestic tour businesses licenses, and for issuance of tour guide certificates have been cut in half. And these are the latest here in Vietnam. Back to you, Alma.
Right, thank you very much, Charlene, for all those updates, and looking forward to more updates there in Vietnam. Thank you, Charlene.
Thank you so much, Alma. You take care.
Take care.
So, reporting live from Hanoi, Vietnam, this is Charlene Navaja. We live in interesting times.
To Cambodia now, where the ministry issued some guidelines for the second phase reopening of kindergartens and primary schools in September. And the UNWTO credits the Prime Minister for taking effective measures versus COVID-19. Here's Crystal Ann Ballesteros.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports has issued guidelines for the reopening of kindergartens and primary schools in the second phase. The guidelines were shared by a ministry press release trying to make sure that all necessary safety measures will be well complied. The guidelines underline a safe learning environment, required sanitation, facilities, as well as continuous awareness building, not only for the teachers and education staff, but also the students and the parents. The public kindergartens and primary schools in the municipal administrations of Kratie, Stung Treng, Ratanakiri, and Mondulkiri provinces will be allowed full sessions with between 15 to 20 students per class. According to the press release, the school resumptions for kindergartens and primary school is scheduled for September 7, 2020 until the end of December 2020, while the new academic year for 2020 to 2021 will begin on January 11, 2021. Not only that, Alma, the UN World Tourism Organization, or UNTWO, has credited Prime Minister Hun Sen for taking effective measures to stem the spread of COVID-19 with the restart of domestic tourism. UNWTO Secretary General Zurab Bolili-Kashvili said in a letter dated on August 21 and obtained by Maritime on Thursday that expresses his great appreciation to the royal government of Cambodia for the very active and effective measures it has taken against the COVID-19 outbreak. The UNWTO said that Cambodia restarted its local tourism role by following health measures in place. Mr. Hun Sen thanked Zuram for supporting his government's decision in granting the substitute Khmer New Year holiday. By strictly following the safety and health guidelines recommended by the World Health Organization during this holiday period, we did not see any new infected cases in the country, but saw some 1.5 million local and foreign tourists travel to various tourism destinations throughout the country. Reporting from Phnom Penh, Cambodia, I am Crystal Ann Ballesteros, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Crystal. Metro Manila mayors are recommending another extension of the general community quarantine until the end of September. Parañaque Mayor Edwin Olivares, Metro Manila Council Chair, said in a radio interview that this was the recommendation of the Council to the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, which will ultimately decide what to recommend to President Duterte. According to Olivares, during the meeting by the mayors with some cabinet members on Sunday night, local chief executives in Metro Manila recommended that the GCQ be extended for 30 days and not for 15 days. In other words, the recommendation will be for the GCQ to be in place for the whole month of September. According to Olivares, they were also eyeing a shortened curfew of from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. instead of the uniform curfew of 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. President Duterte is expected to announce the quarantine status of Metro Manila and other parts of the country on September 1. President Duterte visited on Sunday, August 30, the blast site of the twin explosions in Jolo, Sulu that killed 7 soldiers, 1 policeman, and 6 civilians, and wounded 75 others, offering flowers and condolences to the kin of those who died. Take a look. The president also addressed the soldiers in Jolo in his talk to troops at the headquarters of the Joint Task Force Sulu, honoring those who died, as well as the soldiers and policemen who were injured in the August 24 deadly blasts caused by terrorists believed to be connected to Abu Sayyaf. In photos sent by Senator Christopher Bongo, the president is seen at the blast site in Jolo offering flowers. Senator Go also sent pictures of the president talking to troops in Jolo. Malacanang had earlier condemned the twin bombings as dastardly acts, vowing to find those responsible for the attacks and bring justice to the victims. At least 48 civilians, 21 soldiers, and 6 policemen were wounded in the twin blasts that occurred on midday on August 24 in a busy street in Walid City in Jolo, which was timed when soldiers and policemen were in the area, reportedly for COVID-19 humanitarian efforts. President Duterte admitted that addressing the long-running conflict in Mindanao remains an impossible dream, saying that fighting seemed to be the best option to pave the way for peace for now. Let's listen in.
We should find now more than ever our nation needs our armed forces to ensure that these terrorists will never succeed in their pointless goals. By choosing to fight for your country here in Sulu, you honor the ultimate sacrifice of your fellow soldiers and the countless others who fought before you. I know that the ongoing pandemic has not only made your responsibilities even more complicated and more hardships. Yet in the spirit of selflessness, you remain strong in your mission for the Filipino people. Because of this, I am humbled by your commitment, inspired by your patriotism, and grateful for your continued support. I commit myself to work with you, my dear troops, to ensure that these terrorists will have no future in this country. I cannot divine, I cannot fathom, hindi ko maabot kung paano ito discarded. Time and again, peace process, nag-usap tayo, then Then here comes Al-Qaeda. Walang ginawa na kung pumatay ka ng tao, ki-inosente man o hindi, ki-Musmuro man o Kristiyanos, pagpaputokin ka, putok kayo lahat. That's why when I visited the blast, thank you for sharing with me the gesture. Lumuhod ako, hinalikan ko yung at least simento where my soldiers and the countless and the at saka yung mga
An American warship sailed near the disputed Paracel Islands in the South China Sea, according to the U.S. Navy, challenging Beijing's claims on the resource-rich waterway and prompting a warning from the Chinese military. The Thursday operation came a day after China fired ballistic missiles into the sea as part of ongoing live-fire exercises, inflaming already high tensions between Washington and Beijing. The U.S. regularly conduct freedom of navigation operations in the area to challenge Chinese territorial claims. The U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet said in a statement that the USS Mustin, a guided missile destroyer, sailed Thursday in the vicinity of the Paracel Islands to ensure critical shipping lanes in the area remain free and open. The Chinese military on Friday accused the U.S. ship of entering China's territorial waters near the islands without authorization. Chinese forces tracked the warship and then warned it to leave, according to military spokesman Li Wamin. In recent years, China has aggressively pursued its territorial claims in the South China Sea, building small shoals and reefs into military bases with airstrips and port facilities. Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Taiwan also have competing claims in the South China Sea, through which international trade worth trillions of dollars passes every year. Tensions have risen this week in the area near the Paracel Islands, called Xisha by Beijing, where the Chinese military has been conducting exercises. Beijing on Tuesday accused Washington of flying a U-2 spy plane into a no-fly zone to disrupt the drills, which included the ballistic missile launches. The Pentagon then accused China of destabilizing the region and using the military for unlawful maritime claims in a statement criticizing the exercises and the use of ballistic missiles in the drills. Regional station and dozens of others countrywide has been shut. Regional stations of ABS-CBN. The station slashes its operations after advertising revenues were ravaged by loss of its free-to-air license in May. ABS-CBN stopped its television and radio broadcasts on May 5 after the NTC issued a cease and desist order following the expiration of the network's 25-year legislative franchise on May 4. ABS-CBN is allowed to file a fresh petition. On June 30, the NTC issued another cease and desist order directing the media network to stop operating its digital television transmission using Amcara Broadcasting Corp's Channel 43. The order affected programs aired on ABS-CBN's TV Plus offerings, which include Cine Mo, Ye, DZMM Teleradio, Jeepney TV, Asia Novela Channel, and its pay-per-view channel KBO. More news. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms will prevail over Luzon due to the southwest monsoon affecting the western section of Luzon and Visayas and the indirect effect of Typhoon Julian. According to a weather specialist on Monday, Julian was last eyed 715 kilometers east of Basco, Batanes, moving northwards at 20 kilometers per hour. It packs a maximum sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 185 kilometers per hour. Alzar Aurelio of the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration said that if Julian's track is unchanged, it's expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility by early Tuesday. Aurelio said Visayas and Mindanao will experience fair and warm weather, especially in the afternoon. Isolated rain showers may be experienced due to localized thunderstorms. Moderate to strong winds will prevail over Luzon and Visayas. Coastal waters along these areas will be moderate to rough, and over Mindanao, winds will be light to moderate with slight to moderate seas, according to Pag-asa. ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
Hello there, I'm Alfred, and I'm a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, batch of 2008 in New Era University. I'm currently working as an operations analyst in Autodesk.
Hi, I'm Earl Escanio, and I graduated with Bachelor of Science major in Computer Science in 2010. I am a consultant at Trinity Consulting, LLC.
Hi, I'm Ivy Macapagal, Bachelor's of Computer Science graduate, year 2010. I'm currently working as a cybersecurity analyst in one of the largest telcos here in New Zealand, Coast Park, NZ.
I'm Frank David Riego, a BS Computer Science graduate here in 2015. As a legal analyst, I am tasked with U.S. cases, specifically civil torts cases.
I am Melanie Rico Hermosity, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science graduate, year 2006.
I'm currently a software quality assurance engineer at FBI Systems here in Maryland, United States.
Hi, I'm Renzo Cruz. I'm a graduate of BS Computer Science, year 2012. I'm currently working abroad, and I'm working as a senior cybersecurity consultant who specializes in digital forensics and incident response. And I am part of a national security in one of the countries here in the Middle East.
I am inviting everyone to study at New Era University. To legit, to great.
Be brilliant in the new era.
Study now at New Era University.
Excellence,
Discipline,
Service to humanity.
A strong intensity was felt from the magnitude 4.8 quake that jolted Davao del Sur early Monday, according to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. The tectonic quake struck 8 kilometers southwest of Kiblawan town at 1:44 a.m. It had a depth of 21 kilometers. Now, PHIVOLCS earlier logged this as magnitude 5 earthquake and later downgraded it to magnitude 4.8. Intensity 5, which PHIVOLCS describes as strong and generally felt by people indoors and outdoors, was felt in Kiblawan and Malungon, Sarangani province. Moderately strong intensity 4 was felt in Davao City, Digos City, and Santa Cruz, Davao del Sur, Tupi, South Cotabato, and the island garden city of Samal, Davao del Norte. Intensity 3 was recorded in Coronadal City, Bansalan, and Magsaysay, Davao del Sur, and Columbio, Sultan Kudarat, and intensity 2 in Kidapawan City, General Santos City, Antipas, and Makilala, Cotabato. The following instrumental intensities were also recorded. Intensity 5, Malungon, Sarangani. Intensity 4, Coronadal City, Tupi, South Cotabato. Intensity 3, General Santos City, Alabay, Sarangani, Kidapawan City. Intensity 2, Kiamba, Sarangani. Now, PHIVOLCS said it is not expecting damages and aftershocks from the quake. No major damage had been reported following the tremor. In other news, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and the United Kingdom have vowed to strengthen economic cooperation amid the pandemic following the first UK-ASEAN economic dialogue. Secretary of State for International Trade Liz Truss and 2020 ASEAN Economic Community AEC Minister Tran Tuan An chaired the first UK-ASEAN economic dialogue virtually last August 26. The economic dialogue that aimed to boost economic recovery efforts amid the global health crisis was also attended by economic ministers and officials of the 10 ASEAN member states and ASEAN Secretary General Dato Lim Jock Hoi. ASEAN and the UK said in a joint statement, "We are committed to working together to sustain and deepen the close economic ties between ASEAN and the UK, mitigate the impact of COVID-19, strengthen economic resilience, and pursue sustainable economic growth that keeps markets open and transparent." Bilateral trade between ASEAN and the UK amounted to £42 billion, or around $56 billion. Thailand considers the Philippines as an important family member of the ASEAN of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and not as a rival, according to a Thai official on Friday. The clarification was made after presidential spokesperson Harry Roque recently noted that a fierce tourism competition between Manila and Bangkok may have prompted a Thai newspaper to brand the Philippines as a land of COVID-19. In a letter sent to Director Virginia Arcila Agtay of the News and Information Bureau, the mother unit of Philippine News Agency, Thailand Councillor Pachongwat Yakpan explained that the Thai newspaper that made the headline describing the COVID-19 situation in the Philippines enjoys the right to free speech and expression. She said the right to freedom of speech and expression is abundant among Thai press, and Thailand's constitution guarantees freedom of expression to all individuals as well as for the press and media. Now, Yakpan nevertheless admitted that the news headline against the Philippines was, quote, indeed inappropriate and misleading. However, she dismissed as factually wrong and misleading Secretary Roque's remarks about the Philippines' supposedly tourism competition with Thailand. Yakpan said Thailand has never held the Philippines as a rival or competitor in any way, but rather as an important fellow member of the ASEAN family, united by our common values and interests and our long-standing bilateral relationship. Tourism in both countries offers vibrant and diverse experiences unique to one another, unquote. The Philippines, represented by the Maritime Industry Authority, or MARINA, has committed to becoming a major international hub for crew change during the 39th meeting of the Maritime Transport Working Group of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, as part of its role as a major provider of seafarers to the global labor market. In a statement, MARINA said the meeting, held virtually for the first time on Thursday amidst the coronavirus disease pandemic, also included the ASEAN's other dialogue partners, such as China, Japan, Korea, and the International Maritime Organization, or IMO. Marina Administrator Robert Empedrad, who served as head of the Philippine delegation, said that the Philippines will continue to cooperate with member states of the international maritime community for the facilitation and safe movement of the world's seafarers. Empedrad said seafarers are the lifeline of the world's economy. As such, they are essential workers in the Philippines. Our seafarers, our indispensable partners for our country's economic development. To date, he said the Philippines has already opened the ports of Manila, Bataan, and Subic for international crew change, with more ports planned to open as crew change hubs in the future. In a message, Department of Transportation, or DOTR Assistant Secretary Goddess Hope Libiran said these crew change hubs are required to have a one-stop shop to process the crew changes. This, she said, include health screening with RT-PCR testing, customs immigration, and quarantine facilities. Economic ministers of the 10 members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations discussed the response to and recovery from the coronavirus disease pandemic and its impacts. At the 52nd ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting held online on August 25, the attendees exchanged views on the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, discussed and updated about the pandemic situation, according to Vietnam News Agency. The ministers had discussion on the region's response to the pandemic, including its ability to roll out a comprehensive recovery plan at the meeting chaired by Vietnamese Minister of Industry and Trade, Tran Tuan An. Amid the epidemic, there have been a number of priorities for the ASEAN to deal with, including disruption of supply chains, as well as movements of goods, products, individuals, and human resources affected by disease prevention and control measures, according to Mr. An in an interview with Vietnam News Agency. He called for measures from ASEAN countries to further enhance the resilience of the economy and the capacity to respond to new situations. As participating countries of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, target to conclude a trade deal this year, some countries have offered zero tariff on critical COVID-19 products, according to Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez. For critical products for the pandemic, they are even made duty-free based on the Bayanihan Act. But other RCEP countries also offer 0% tariff, according to Lopez in a text message on Friday. RCEP is a trade agreement among the 10 ASEAN member states, and the bloc's Free Trade Agreement, or FTA, partners Australia, New Zealand, China, Japan, and South Korea. The trade deal aims to further reduce tariffs on goods and services for a freer movement of products and services among participating countries. The RCEP participating countries stand to benefit from the trade deal as one of the world's largest exporters of medical products. China is part of the new trade bloc, and according to the World Trade Organization, China is the world's 7th largest exporter of medical products in 2019, selling $1.6 billion to the world. It's also the world's largest source of personal protective products, followed by Germany and the United States. Personal protective products shared 49% of China's export of medical products in 2019, which amounted to $23 billion. These products include face masks, hand soap, sanitizers, and protective spectacles. China is also the top exporter of face masks with a 25% share and has the 4th largest share of ventilator exports, accounting for 10%. The WTO data also showed that the average most favored nation applied tariff on COVID-19 relevant medical products among WTO members is of 4.8%. China's applied tariff on medical products is at 4.2%, lower than the global average. On the other hand, RCEP participating countries, South Korea's tariff on medical products is higher at 5.9% on average. Robert Azevedo steps down as head of the World Trade Organization, leaving the crisis-stricken institution a year ahead of schedule. After 7 years at the helm, one day after leaving the WTO post, Azevedo will begin his new role as an executive vice president and chief corporate affairs officer with PepsiCo, the U.S. soft drink and snacks giant. The company said the role had been created for the Brazilian career diplomat who will work on solidifying PepsiCo's external management efforts with national and international authorities, regulators, international organizations, and non-governmental stakeholders. Azevedo, PepsiCo chief Ramon Laguarta, said would bring a valuable political skills and technical knowledge of the complex social, political, and regulatory environments impacting the company. The departing WTO chief, who was educated as an engineer, said in a statement that he was delighted to join PepsiCo at a time when strengthening relationships between business, government, and society has become essential to generating sustainable and inclusive long-term growth. Azevedo, who made the surprise announcement in May that he would end his second WTO term 12 months early for personal reasons, is leaving the organization engulfed in multiple crises. One of 8 candidates currently in the running to succeed him will be taking the reins in the midst of a devastating global economic downturn sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, trade negotiations appear hopelessly stalled and trade tensions between the U.S. and China continue to soar. At the same time, the appellate branch of the WTO's dispute settlement body, sometimes called the Supreme Court of World Trade, stopped functioning in December after years of relentless U.S. opposition. Washington accuses the court of major overreach and has blocked appointments of new judges, leaving it without the quorum needed to hear cases. Last month, WTO members failed to agree on what has been expected to be a straightforward appointment of one of 4 current deputy directors as an acting chief during the months-long selection process for a permanent leader. ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
The New Era University, in its 45th year of excellence, discipline, and service to humanity, will offer online education at all levels beginning this first semester academic year 2020 to 2021 through the NEU Virtual Learning Environment, or NEU VLE. New Era University offers a complete basic education cycle from kindergarten up to senior high school, offering all strands. NEU has 18 colleges, and 2 graduate schools. It also offers ALS and ETF. Best of all, NEU has the most affordable tuition fees among private universities in the Philippines. NEU is at Quezon City, the city of San Fernando, Pampanga, General Santos City, South Cotabato, Lipa City, Batangas, and Pinugay, Baras, Rizal. New Era University is under the stewardship of Dr. Dilo L. Rosas. What are you waiting for? Be part of the new normal. Enroll now. Classes start on October 5, 2020.
Eighteen volcanic earthquakes were recorded at Taal within 24 hours. That is according to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. Now, PHIVOC said weak steaming was also monitored at the volcano, which remains on alert level 1. According to PHIVOC, the steam, which rose 5 meters before drifting northeast, was observed from vents on the main crater. Now, PHIVOC reminded the public that sudden steam-driven or phreatic explosions, volcanic earthquakes, minor ashfall, and lethal accumulations or expulsions of volcanic gas can occur and threaten areas within the Taal volcano island. It reiterated its recommendation that entry into TV1 Taal's Permanent Danger Zone or PDZ, especially the vicinities of the main crater and the Daang Castilla Fissure, remain strictly prohibited. Now, local government units were also told to continuously assess previously evacuated barangays around the Taal Lake for damages and road accessibilities and to strengthen preparedness, contingency, and communication measures in case of renewed unrest. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Gilbert Gapay, representing President Duterte, leads the National Heroes Day celebration at the Libingan ng mga bayani in Taguig City today. This year's celebration carries the theme, Tunay na Kabayanihan sa Paglaban at Pagbangon.
Ganoon, mga pinuno, kawal, baba.
Philippine Army Chief Lieutenant General Cirilito Sobejana urged Filipinos to be heroes in our own way in his National Heroes Day message on Monday. According to Sobejana, this was especially so in the ongoing battle against COVID-19 and terrorism. The bravery of our predecessors serves as inspiration for us to heed the call, he said. Sobejana also urged Filipinos to exemplify patriotism and honor the memory of our heroes as we labor for our country's peace and progress. He noted the heroes' courage and selflessness who gave up life and limb for our freedom and democracy. He also recognized the country's soldiers and other frontliners who remain resilient to secure our way of life and safeguard the nation's health. He said through their dedication, the spirit of valor lives in our identity as Filipinos. As the nation commemorates National Heroes Day, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana lauded frontliners in the fight to curb the spread of the coronavirus disease. In a statement, Lorenzana said the country owes a debt of gratitude to present heroes, the brave frontliners, the soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines, and selfless citizens who continue to serve as the country continues to face the challenges and threats of the pandemic. The government has mobilized the armed forces to provide logistics, support, transport, security, and supplement health care. Lorenzana also lauded the sacrifice of past heroes who lived and died in the service of the country. He reminded Filipinos to show the world the inherent traits of bayanihan and love of country, the Filipino brand of heroism. President Duterte hailed Filipino frontliners amid the COVID-19 pandemic in his National Heroes Day message on Monday. The president called Filipinos battling the COVID-19 pandemic, not only in the country, but also abroad, modern-day heroes, noting how they came to be amid the present-day challenges posed by the current public health crisis. Let's listen in.
We honor not only the valor of our forebears who fought for our motherland's freedom, but also the heroism of those who risked their lives fighting a different kind of enemy. Present-day challenges posed by the current public health crisis has given rise to modern-day heroes. The countless Filipino frontliners here and abroad who are battling the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope that the bravery of our Filipino heroes, past and present, will inspire us all to face and overcome even the most unfavorable situations. Together, let us become everyday heroes as we pursue a better future for everyone. Mabuhay ang bayaning Pilipino.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. Amal Angeles will live in interesting times.